almost until the end of the 17th century, maybe even until the middle of the 18th century, coffee trade, coffee culture, coffee business was a monopoly for the Muslims. Muslims had complete control over the trade of coffee, and this was very important for them. Now, by the 16th and 17th century, while the Muslim world had 1,000 of coffee shops, Europe and Europeans had no idea what coffee was. But there was this very interesting event that became the reason for the first coffee shop ever to be opened in Europe. In the 17th century, where the Ottomans were actually standing on the walls of Vienna, Austria, they were trying to fight their way in. But now the Ottomans were drawing back with less troops than what they had in the beginning. And they had to drop a lot of weight and not take all the things with them back to the Ottoman Empire. What happened is that one of the things that they actually decided to leave in the walls of Vienna was bags of coffee. After taking hold of 200 bags of coffee and wanting to dismiss it, one person came suddenly up telling the Austrians that this was actually a treasure. The first coffee house in Austria opened in Vienna in 1683 after the Battle of Vienna, by using supplies from the spoils obtained after defeating the Ottomans. Now let's go back on our story and see how did the West get actually introduced to coffee and how coffee came to the West. Now it is actually known that by the end of the 17th century, now there was coffee houses in most of the important cities in Europe. Across Europe, coffee houses were flourishing, but this meant a great big deal for both Europeans and the Ottomans. Now, it was not really actually only Europeans who wanted to get some coffee from Yemen, but an Indian pilgrim called Hajj Budan actually was able to obtain some green coffee from the Yemenis and then tried planting it in India. With his good intentions, yes, he managed to actually grow coffee in India, and today we have some Indian coffee growing in the Indian continent. But with Europeans, it was even funnier because the Dutch were actually trying to smuggle coffee and grow it in the Netherlands. This obviously would never happen because of the climate, but the Europeans did not seem very well intending like Hajj Budan. So what they did is they actually colonized a couple of places where they tried to actually put coffee there and plant it and grow. What happened is, as a consequence, Indonesia, Java, Sri Lanka, and a couple of other places were colonized and coffee started to grow there. Day to day, Indonesian coffee is actually quite famous, and this was the way how coffee came to Indonesia in the first place. Another breakthrough that was happening in the West was when the Portuguese actually got hold of some good coffee. What they did is they used it in their colonies like Brazil. And what happened is that there was a breakthrough because Brazilian coffee became such a thing in the coffee industry. In most Europe, coffee houses were now opening in every city, small or big. Coffee houses became a culture of the Europeans now. Especially Italians would take coffee as a culture and develop it and bring it where it is today. Indonesia, the Dutch colony for coffee planting and coffee production, is now today one of the world's greatest coffee exporters. Coffee now is a world commodity and it is something present everywhere in every corner of the world. What happened to Yemeni coffee? Well, Yemeni coffee lost its quality around the 19th and 20th century. But in the 21st century, around the year of 2013, Yemeni coffee actually made a breakthrough and it's on its way to reclaim its quality and its legacy. A guy called Mukhtar al-Khanshali, who moved from the US to Yemen to see the coffee farming situation, actually saw a very good opportunity to work with the Yemeni farmers. Now he's running a couple of projects and doing a great job, and Yemeni coffee is now actually one of the most expensive coffees in the world with a very, very high quality. Coffee, becoming part of the world culture, has flourished in different places. As we know, Italians and Turks and Brazilians are actually very famous for their coffee cultures now. Well, as you see, the coffee culture, starting from a very small group of some Sufis in the mountains of Yemen, today it made its way all across the world.